Yo, what's up, y'all? Back with another episode. Super excited for this one. I got a really good guy who not only knows actually how to sell at a high level, but I feel like is a really genuine person. He comes from one of my, fan favorites of an agency over there at Wolfpack. But man, Tal, thank you for hopping on today, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Dude, of course, man. All right, so let's hop right into it, man. A little bit of backstory. I don't know much about this, so if you could, man,
For
how did
sure.
you get into the life insurance space, bro?
So I actually I've been looking at it for a while, for like the past probably 6, 8 months. I got laid off back in March. Got laid off in March, actually late February. Laid off in February. I did health insurance for the 5 years before this, so I've been in sales for a while. Got laid off in February, and in March, I was like, let's do it. I mean, there's nothing else happening, right? I had to make something happen. I've never been the kind of guy that wanted to go work a W-2 just because I never wanted to work for somebody else and I didn't want anyone to really depict on what I made, right? And so March rolled around. I didn't work all of March, got onboarded. Then I flew to Arizona for the new office in Arizona that Wolfpack opened, and I stayed out there for 30 days. So April was my first 30 days, and I wrote 28K AP in April. And honestly, bro, it has been life changing. Like truthfully, it's been life changing. This industry's been life changing. But at the same time, it's opened my eyes to a lot bigger things, not only the money, but being able to help people get out of that rat race and being able to really change the younger generation because I'm kind of an old head considered for the industry. I mean, I'm 27, right? I got into the industry when I was 27. So I was a little bit older. Most people now are 18, 19, 20. So pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
bro. I definitely relate, bro. I just turned 30 like 2 weeks ago, and I got in when I was 26 or
Yeah.
25 actually. And even then, I was like kind of considered an old head, bro.
Exactly.
But it's funny, bro. It's like, dog, I'm not old at all, but I guess in this
For
space you
sure.
are.
For sure.
But nah, take us back real quick. Those first 30 days for the
Yeah.
people that were listening, where did you come in and run just like fresh leads? Were you running age leads? And then my follow-up question to that is like, how was it? I know you said you wrote 28, but like, dude, did you get your teeth kicked in? I guess
For
walk through that
sure.
experience for this agent who's like, yo, I'm watching this video. I want to get to where he's at. What were those first 30 days, bro?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I gotta shout out my uplines, Luke and Max. They definitely helped me a lot because I mean, I was broke. I had 2 grand in my name going out to Arizona. Like, I didn't have any money for leads, right? And so I was running like their age leads. So at that point, it was probably like a year to 2 years old, right? Like these
Right.
were aged, right? And I was just scrapping, dude. Like literally anyone who picked up the phone, they were gonna buy, right? Or they were at least gonna have a conversation with me. I
Mhm.
wasn't getting off the phone until they hung up the phone or they told me to F off, right? Like that. And that's just kind of how I learned how to do sales, right? Anybody is a prospect, right? And so that first 30 days, I mean, the first week, yeah, I had sales background, but I mean, people who have sales background, it's so different, right? Like each sales is different. You have to know the product. And if you go into any presentation without knowing the product, you're going to stutter and you're not going to sound credible, right? And so that first week was, I think I maybe listened to Max and Luke like a day or two because I just wanted to get on the phones. I had to rip. I had to make money. I had to provide for the family, right? I had 30 days to change my life. If I didn't, I told myself, I gave myself 3 months. And luckily, my roommate had my back. He had some money set aside and he was willing, whenever we first started this, he was willing to cover my back for 3 months, which was, I mean, a blessing, right? Like that. Not a lot of people have that, right? But I just took that upon me. I was like, I can't let him get to that point, right? Like I'm not going to borrow any money. That's never going to happen. I don't want that. And so that first 30 days, it was head down grind. I got to the office. It was Arizona. So I was getting to the office at 6:30 or 7 because we're already 2 hours behind everybody, right? Because it's their weird time zone that they have out there. And
Right.
so I was getting there 6:30 or 7, dialing till 8, 9, 10 at night. And then I would go home, set appointments, and still dial from the crib some nights. And so, I mean, I was every day. The only days I possibly took off were Sundays. And even at that, I would just go to church on Sundays and then go to the office. So
Right.
it would be a little bit of time. But yeah, bro, I mean, talk about teeth kicked in. Woo. talk about age leads. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, you have to really, I mean, you're especially with final expense that you guys are, running across now. Like anybody who's in the industry understands that final expense is one of the easier policies to sell, but also one of the easier ones to flip, right? And so whenever you're looking at these, you really have to build credibility and build rapport to make sure that you're doing the right thing for the client and also sticking with the client. So my whole thing was going into these calls, making sure to build a lot of rapport and making sure that they understand that I'm there for them and that I will be their agent for life.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, 100%, bro. And I think that's good perspective for agents to understand. And that's what I was going to ask you. So you did start out with age final expense, correct? That's what you're
yeah,
saying?
yep,
Okay. Walk us through, just for clarity for those that are listening, he does run like our IUL leads, which we will get
yeah,
to.
yeah.
But walk us through, brother. Like, I'm interested to know, how did you transition from filing expense to IUL? Like, when did you start learning that script? Were you doing that on the side? Like, what was that transitionary phase for you? And also why too? Not only what
Yeah.
was it, but why did you switch to?
So it's actually kind of funny. So when I first got into life insurance, my dad, he had a IUL that he
Hmm.
preached about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I've been knowing about it for 3 years. And I mean, it's to the point where he like set up a trust and everything. And he's like, hey, when I pass away, if you guys don't have an IUL that I can put money into, you won't get any money when I pass. Like he's that strict about it.
Oh,
Yeah, like
really?
he
Okay.
fully like
Is
he's
he an
all in
agent?
board. No.
Okay,
He's just
okay,
all in board because like I mean, he took the 48% cut on his 401k because he was sick of not having money. So we invest in real estate. And so
okay.
he was sick of having his money locked up. And so he took that 48% cut, took all of his money out of the 401k and put it into an IUL. So this has
Mm,
been a conversation I've had with my dad. So I've learned a lot of, I've already known quite a bit about IULs previously, right? But
okay.
not the nitty gritty stuff. I just knew the basics, right? And so I think the realization I had was after my first 30 days in Arizona, I came back here and I was talking with Anthony and I was like, we're not ever going to be able to build an agency that we want based off of final expense and be able to capitalize and scale it the way we want to scale it, right? A, it's just normal. Premiums aren't as high. B, the turnover rate is much higher than anything, right? And C, I've always, coming from health insurance, I always like to have more knowledgeable conversations, and I've liked to be able to take those conversations and make them longer to build more rapport. With final expense, it's cut and dry. You want cremation or you want burial, right? There's not really anything else to it. When
Yeah,
you get into IULs, you're talking about their mortgage, you're talking about the family expenses, you're talking about their income. I mean, there's a bunch of things that you're talking about. It's a much more knowledgeable and a much more younger crowd. So that's how I got into it. After that first 30 days, I came back here, talked to Anthony, want to do IULs, and he's looking at more into mortgage protection and he's looking at those blue collar leads now. I will say that.
yeah, yeah. We definitely go talk about that. So, dude, let's just hop right into it, man. Because I didn't even, first of all, side note, I didn't realize you were that new into the industry. Like,
Oh
genuinely,
yeah, this is my fourth month.
dude, I didn't know that, bro. I thought you'd been
Yeah.
ripping for a while. Like, you
No.
popped in, Mac was like, "Yeah, dude, I got this guy. He knows Stan." And then we were at dinner and stuff, and like, you know what I mean,
We
hit you up. I was like,
FaceTimed, yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
we FaceTimed you, bro." But I was like, "Oh, this dude's been ripping for a while." Like, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that, so that makes it even doper. Okay, so all right. So now I'm very interested. So
Yeah.
walk us through your script. Now I'm assuming, I'm just gonna assume here, I don't know, because your team wasn't doing that. Did you create your own script? Did you take like a
Correct.
blueprint from somebody else? Like walk us through now, okay, I want to start selling IULs. What was that first lead purchase like? And then also like how did you prepare or start shaping your script?
So you're probably not gonna like when I say this, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I've never used a script in my life. I am
Hmm.
so like sales to me has come more natural than most people, I will say,
Okay.
right? And I'm a very outgoing and talkative person, but I have never used a script because I think everyone sounds too robotic on a script. Okay.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, if you were to write a script, there's only a certain point of that conversation where a script can last. Because a
Correct.
conversation can go any different way, right? Now, an intro is different. My intro is relatively the same on each phone call, but at the end of the day, it really depends on what they put down on the leads and what they when they fill that out. Okay. So my script, I can't even say script, my intro, depending on what they do, legacy protection, or if they're trying to build tax-free retirement, right? I build it off of those two. Okay. If it's a legacy protection, I'll just say the one I'm like, hey, client, this is Talbott. I saw here that you filled out an application online for the legacy protection for your family. Is that correct? And if they're like, oh, I don't know what legacy protection is, then I go into IULs. Okay, you filled out the form for index universal lives. Do you know how those operate? My key word there is operate. If they don't know anything about an IUL, then I'm directly switching over to just explaining how an IUL works. Because that's the biggest factor. If you can get them to explain how an IUL works, they're hooked. Just like the guy I sold yesterday. He didn't know anything about an IUL, and he wasn't sure if he just wanted a whole life policy or an IUL. And he thought they were the same thing. So that's where
Mm.
education really comes into play. You really have to educate the client, and you have to understand the ins and outs of an IUL to be able to capitalize on that. And so whenever they say they don't know about the IUL, obviously you go into it creates that tax-free retirement for you. Okay. None of the money that you take out is going to be taxed, and it's going to grow at a cash value, and it's going to grow on average about 8.25% on the S&P 500. You can pick what indices you want to put them into. Most people just choose the S&P 500 because it compound grows the best. Okay. Does that all make sense to you guys? Perfect. Okay. Now let me ask you this. With your family, are you the breadwinner or is your wife the breadwinner? Okay. Ask those questions. Then if they say they're the breadwinner, I always say, okay, perfect. Does your wife have anything in place if you were to pass away? Then they're going to say no. Okay. Do you have anything in place if she were to pass away? That's where I get my double sales. That's where I get the his and hers. Because as soon as they say no, then I instantly know after I sell him the IUL, I can pitch that to her because then it's going to cover both. Okay. And recently, what I have been trying to tap into, which this is all props to Stan because he's helped me a lot on this, asking about their mortgage, asking about the housing situation, asking about how much they have. Because at the end of the day, an IUL is great. It's going to create that tax-free income, right? But if God forbid something happens within that lifespan of that IUL, they're not going to have the cash value necessarily to cover the house, right? And so this is where you can get two sales instead of just one, because you can write them that mortgage protection insurance as well, that term policy that's going to cover the lifetime of the mortgage, right? And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't train my guys on scripts. I train them on intros, and then I give them keywords to pick up on and keywords to say to help them with that. If that makes sense.
No, I love it. I love it. Now let me piggyback off an agent who's like, I'm following you because you kind
Mm-hmm.
of just left us on the edge. Continue
Yeah.
with the rest of I'm not even gonna call it a script, but your what I would like you to do is just keep breaking down your psychology of the sale because that's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Piggybacking on points. So I think you were somewhere between like explaining how the product works and then walk us all the way to even how you pitch options, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously, people who understand what IULs are, the biggest thing is the illustration. Okay. If they are good with numbers, then I do it over the phone. If they are not, then I instantly go to a Google Meet or a Zoom call. Because
Okay.
anything in like, that they can visually see is always going to be better. Okay. So then I break it down. I get into all of their finances, every single one of them. Okay. If someone is going to get standoffish on their, what they have to spend each month, what they make each month, they're not really invested into this IUL. Because at the end of the day, if they can't afford it, it's not going to help you or them, right? And so I do a breakdown of everything. I get their annual income, I get each family member's income, like husband and wife. I get what they do for work. Then I ask well, then I kind of break down like, hey, just to let you know, IULs are very hard to get approved for. I always use the number 2 out of every 10 people get approved. Okay, because it's very true, right? If you have bankruptcies, if you have felonies, if you're unhealthy, anything like that, more than likely you're not going to get approved. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a solution for you. Okay. We can do simplified issue IULs, which are just whole life, right? They're still going to build that cash value, excuse me, but they're a little bit easier to get approved for. Okay. Then once I get all their finances, everything, then we break down, and this is where honestly your leads are superior to a lot of other people's. It gives you the range that they want to put in. Okay. So then I go back to the leads and I say, hey, I see here that you want to start to invest 500 to $1,000. Was there a number within there that truly felt comfortable for you to start? Okay. Most of the time, they pick the lower end, so 500 bucks. Like, okay, perfect. So $500. Let me plug this in here and see what we can get you approved for, and let me see what like that capital gains would be on that. Okay. Now, with that being said, let me ask you this. With you funding this IUL, at the end of the time of you, spending money on the IUL each month, was there a cash value number that would make it doable or make it, make your head light up that you would like to see that would be profitable enough for you to move forward with this policy? Hopefully they give me a number. Most time they have no idea, right? Which is fine. They don't know how the compound interest works. Okay. So that's when we get into the illustration. Once we get into the illustration, I'll just go off the one like I did yesterday. Okay. This guy made $500,000 a year and he had a net worth of about 2.5 million. Okay. So he made a good amount of money. Okay. He wanted to start out at $500. That $500 within 30 years was going to be around 300 or sorry, $429,000 in cash value. Okay. With 500 bucks a month. He said that wasn't bad, but he also said, hey, in the next 5 years or in the next 30 years, I expect to have 3 or 4 homes. Okay, that's good stuff for me to understand, right? That obviously I know you're a real estate investment, you're a contractor, you need stuff to be able to afford all of that, right? And I was like, is the biggest thing for you liquid cash or are you worried about the death benefit? And he
Mm.
said liquid cash because again, as you guys understand, you can formulate these IULs many different ways, right? His biggest thing was the cash value. He wanted the most cash value early on to be able to invest into real estate. So I explained all of that. And sorry, backtrack a little bit. The benefit of it is I do real estate as well with my dad. So understanding how IULs can benefit real estate really helped this conversation. So if anyone listening needs help on that, you guys can always hit me up. But his $500 was not going to be suitable enough for him. And I know he put 500 to 1,000. And after this, knowing that he made $500,000 a year and all of his expenses, I know he had about $2,500 a month left over to do with money, right? To do with whatever, right? So we got him pre-approved for the $500. I wanted to make sure we could get him approved. Okay.
Okay.
Went through the entire application process, went through all of that, very upfront and honest on saying, hey, you getting pre-approved is putting an application in place. I just want you to understand that. That is how life insurance works. It's the only way for us to understand if we can get you pre-approved. Okay. At the very end of the application, I said, perfect, client. You did get pre-approved. Now, here's the time where we can really sit down and think about, is that $500 going to do you justice in the next 30 years? Or do you want to see if 700 or $1,000 will do you justice? And he said, let's see what the $700 will do. I read him through the $700. The 700 is going to give him $689,000 in cash value in the next 30 years. That made the most sense for him. And so we went with that option. Okay. This is the very pivotal point of all my sales that I think that kind of put the hit the hand or hit the nail on the head. I
Mhm.
always say to them, I say perfect. So I was able to get you that IUL for you. Now, with that being said, if God forbid something were to happen to your wife, what's in place for her? And he said, well, she actually doesn't have anything. I said, okay, perfect. The biggest thing here is, are you wanting to build cash value for your wife, or are you wanting just a blanket of security for her? And he said, well, that's a very good question. And I said, okay, perfect. Because your wife is younger. Your wife's only 40, right? At the end of the day, a whole life policy is going to be a lot cheaper for a good amount of coverage. But if you want that cash value to grow and want her to be able to borrow, an IUL would be even better because she has 9 years on you. Just $200 a month at compound interest of 9 years is going to be able to grow that cash value a lot more than yours ever would, right? And so being able to acknowledge and know how cash value works and how the industry works, and just let alone the S&P 500, is really crucial for a lot of people. And obviously knowing and giving them that blanket security of knowing, hey, you are capped on a percentage, but vice versa of that, you're never also going to lose money, right? So understanding, yeah, you can take the same $700 and go to the S&P right now and put that in each month. But if that goes down 12%, you just lost 12% on your money, right? But if you put it into an IUL, you're never going to lose money. That floor is, 0.1% or whatever it is, zero. Sometimes it's zero point 0.1. And so being able to be knowledgeable in that, knowing the tax codes, I actually wrote down the tax code. Hold on. Let me read it. This is big for a lot of people. 7702, tax code 7702. That states if you say that on the phone, it improves your credibility. That improves your credibility. Okay. Tax code 7702 states that all money funded into an IUL, every loan taken out of an IUL cannot be taxed from the government because it is insured by obviously insurance. Okay. So understanding that and being able to tell clients that proves your credibility and it also just, builds some more rapport on that as well.
First of all, that was a masterclass, bro. You just look, you put me on some game. No, you put me on some game, bro. I like, it's funny. Sitting here listening to you, I see like how you've been trained, tied in with what you know and your previous experience. Like not a lot of agents who did miss this. I think the most important thing that you all have to take from outside, like you can rewind what he said, is understanding that he's actually doing a financial inventory. I know I'm going backwards,
No, of
and
course. Yeah.
I know Stan, and I know how you guys train, and I
Yeah,
understand the psychology. Not a lot of agencies even do that anymore. They just pitch numbers and they
for
don't pitch
sure.
any value. And I know you guys do that, but for the people that have no idea who Stan is or any of this stuff, take a
Yeah.
step back. Can you explain why the financial inventory is so crucial to you actually, number one, writing bigger policies, but
Yeah.
also getting them to stick? Can you just explain that to the
Of
listener?
course. Yeah. So honestly, I think the biggest thing that's helped me is just the security of the sale. Because at the end of the day, if they come back and say that they can't afford it, you have numbers to prove it. Like, hey, we just broke down all of your expenses every single month and what you come in on your lowest month. On your lowest month, you told me you bring in 35 grand. Okay. Your mortgage is 8,700. Your car expenses are 4,000. Your other expenses are another 4,000 of this, right? Blah, 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 blah. You told me you have about 2 to 3 grand left over each month that you have no idea what to do with, right? I'm not even taking half of it. And at the end of the day, if you were to come to me in 30 years and tell me that you were going to put $700 away in a bank account that's going to grow at 0.01%, a savings account, high yield savings account, and you were going to
Yeah.
put $700 each month. First of all, I want you to look me in the face and tell me that you would actually even put $700 because I know you wouldn't, because that's never going to happen.
Right.
Secondly, you would have what? Maybe 30 grand,
Facts.
right? Like it's a no-brainer, client. Like at the end of the day, what this is doing is helping secure that solidify for your family and being able to ensure that they have that comfortability whenever you do pass on the worst day possible of them. They understand that you left them a legacy. That's what you put in on the form, right? You wanted to leave a financial legacy for them, right? Perfect. Let me give you one other tip that you can actually help them the most. At the end of the day, you understand with an IUL, you can't take the cash value and the death benefit, correct? So let me give you a little tidbit of what you can do. Within that day comes, if you're getting older and you see your health declining, whatever cash value you have, let's say it's 689,000. What I want you to do is take that $689,000 out. Well, you can't take all of it, but 650,000 out. I want you to go buy an asset. I want you to buy a house. I want you to buy gold, something like that. Okay? Keep that in the trust. Then when you do pass away, yeah, you still have an outstanding loan on your policy for 650,000. That's just going to take away from the death benefit. But now they're getting the cream of crop of both. Now they're getting that asset that you put that money towards, and they're getting that death benefit that you have. Now you're leaving a huge legacy for your family.
Right. And then at that point, it's just nail in the coffin because they already know, bro.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I think that's huge for everybody that's listening is because at the end of the day, like you have to ask those questions to get your ammunition. A lot of people just, well, how much money do you want to put into this? And then they just keep going on. Like what he's literally saying, and I know how they get down is like, he's like, all right, cool. How much is your car payment? Write it
Yeah.
down. Okay, how much do you typically spend on this? Down to like Netflix. What are you spending on miscellaneous costs? So
Literally.
you get a car, I already know, bro. So you get a concrete number of what they actually have left. And a lot of people wonder why certain agencies have such higher premiums. Their average agents are a lot higher. It's simply because they genuinely do the financial inventory and then they build value on like the actual death benefit, not on the number. Most people just pitch death benefit. Oh yeah, $100,000 IUL. Well, dude, what does that even? You're not showing them what that
Mm-hmm.
does, where they can spend it, or you start
Of
stacking
course.
things and saying, okay, this is for this, but now we need a traditional whole life equity protection plan for 15 grand that will
Of
eventually turn
course.
into a final expense policy in the event that you outlive it and your mortgage finishes. And now they're like, oh, and you showed
Yep.
them how to use the money and you walk out the house with an $800 a month policy, bro. 100%, man.
Yeah, and I mean, even on the vice versa of that, I mean, I have had multiple sales where the numbers just don't make sense. They can only put in 50, 100, or $150 and they're 60 years old. And like that's the point where I am in my life. Like I we all love money, bro. Like don't get me wrong, we're all in the business to make money. We all got to feed our families. I'm not stupid on that. But at the end of the day, if you look at the illustration and their cash surrender is zero for the next 4 years, that policy is not going to last,
Thanks.
right? Like, do the right thing. Look at them in the eyes or tell them over the phone and be like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you, client. Right now, with the money that you're trying to put in, it does not make sense for an IUL. Now, that does not mean I can't help you, right? If we have mortgage or if we even want to get final expense coverage, we can do that. But right now, in your state in life, your point in life, with your income that where it's at right now, it does not make sense for an IUL because it's not going to last for you. It's not going to grow the cash value that you want. And it's also not going to grow at a good enough rate to where that policy is going to be able to survive that long. It's going to surrender at the end of year 20, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. No, bro, and I think being transparent and honest with people is everything. If you could, for an agent that's listening, what is like we'll stick on the sales side. What is one major like shift or hack? And by hack, I just mean like behavioral change thing that you've done in your sales process that you feel like from maybe day 60 to day, 90 has made a major difference in regards to like you being able to sell more, you being able to write more premium in general.
Leads. To be honest, no, I mean to be completely honest, is just the type of life insurance that I'm selling. To be
Mm.
completely honest, right? Like I told you earlier, I mean off this, but I don't write final expense anymore. I try not to. The biggest thing, I guess, the other hack really is transparency and building that rapport. Like understanding, like when you write someone an IUL, they are constantly going to be feeding this policy. If they don't have your number or they don't think that they can talk to you about their finances, they never will, and that policy will never grow the way that they want.
That's a gem. I just want everybody to stop for a second. Just say that one more time, bro, and break that down because a side note, people get very confused. They try to treat an IUL sale like they do a regular life insurance. And what you said was so powerful because the educational piece does not stop once they get
Correct.
finished getting sold. But can you just say that one more
Of
time, bro?
course.
Break that
Of
down for
course.
people because that's
Of
something that
course.
a lot of people don't understand, bro.
I'm gonna put it a little bit different way too. Us agents in life insurance, we are constantly learning because it's always evolving, correct? It's the
Mhm.
same thing as an IUL. They are constantly going to be evolving. The rate at which the IUL is going up and down in compound interest is always evolving or going down, right? And they are always going to get different paychecks. You never know when they could fall into another $25,000 that they don't know what to do with. And if they don't have your number or think that they can call you to invest that money, they never will. Are you getting paid on it in years 2 through 10? Yeah, a little percentage, but at the end of the day, you're not in this just to make the money. If
Facts.
you are, you're going to die out.
Facts.
If you're in this to genuinely help people and make sure that they actually have the policy that they need, help them. If they have $25,000, know where the MEC limit is and understand when to invest when. You can put $1,200 in this month, you can put $800 in this month. You just can't reach the MEC limit. Understand that and help the client. Be there for them. Be a friend. They will never leave you.
Yeah. Dude, no, that's huge, bro. That's really huge. And I think one of the things that you did say at the beginning about not having a script, but focusing more on frameworks was education. I think that's where a lot of people mess up with like IUL leads in general, whether they're fresh, they're
Sure.
aged, whatever, is that they're so focused on just trying to push the product, which is a great product. but then they
Yeah,
try to push the product so much that they're not listening to the client and they're not actually trying to put them in the best situation to the point where you're literally saying you'll walk away from a sale. You'll be like, dude, this isn't a good
100%.
fit for you. And if you don't want to do regular life insurance, then like we're good. I can help you, but I'm
100%.
gonna put you in a worse position by either lying to you, telling you that this is not what it is, or just giving you a plan that doesn't actually make sense, bro. And I think that's,
Yeah.
dude, I mean, that speaks volumes, bro.
I literally had a guy on Friday, one of the first leads that came in from my new pack, and he had some issues with the IRS and needed some extra money, and he thought that this was going to be a great system for him to build that. And he all he could put in was $100 a month. And I came into first of all, I called him when he was at work, and I'm all for pushing through objections and pushing through when people are at work, right? But if you're running IUL leads, you understand that these conversations aren't just 20 or 30 minutes. And if they are, you're not doing it right at
Mm.
the end of the day, right? And so knowing what kind of leads you're running, he was at work and I told him I'd call him back later. And at the end of the day, I told him he was one of the people that I literally said, "Hey, this is not going to help you right now. At the end of the day, I think you really should be stacking $100, even though it's going to grow at 0.1%. You need to just stack money because it's going to grow better than the IUL at $150 or $100
Mm.
a month, right?" And he texted me later 2 days ago or something. And he's like, "Hey man, I know I told you this on the phone, but I really want to appreciate what you said to me over the phone. I've never had that much transparency while trying to get life insurance. And I've never had someone shoot me the right way." And yeah, he's like, I promise you in 6 months when I get this IRS stuff resolved, I will be calling you." I was like, "Yeah, perfect. Like whenever you're ready, you let me know." And he was like, "Yeah, you can follow up with me in 6 months." I was like, "Hey, even better, I'm gonna leave this on you because I don't know when you're gonna be done with that, right?
Right,
And,
right.
and don't be in a rush, right? I want you to give me a call when you think it's the right time." And it just speaks volumes. I mean, when I get those texts, I'm like, yeah, I feel good. I might not have the sale that day, but I feel good. I can lay my head down at night and understand that, I did the right thing for someone.
Right. Dude, I think that's super important because I think a lot of people, man, yeah, we could talk about it for days, but I think a lot of people do push the
100%.
product wrong, and I'm not here to judge people. At the end of the day, people could do
For
what they
sure.
want. But yeah, it's good to hear that you're making sure they're in the right spot. I know we've been rapping for a while, so I'm gonna kind of transition into the end here. Let's talk about how you met us. I actually don't know this. I don't know the story. I know you work directly. Your advisor is Mac, but dude, walk us through, bro. How did you even find out about us? I think you came from ads. I'm not 100% sure, but walk me through like
Yeah.
from when you filled it out to like your first pack and just walk us through your customer journey, bro.
So this was like right before the Arizona Ignite. So when was that?
That was at like the end of May.
End of May? Yeah. So this was like beginning of May, right when I first started purchasing leads, right? I bought some leads that, obviously we don't have to tell them, but some leads, they didn't work well. I had one sale. I started out with vets for you guys. So the reason why I got into it is because one of our buddies in the AZ office bought IULs and he was smacking Demur. He was
Yeah,
smacking
yeah.
them at first. And I was like, damn, where are you buying those from? And he's like, Agent Lead Labs. And I was like, okay, let me tap in, let me look at it. He's like, yeah, let me send you Mac's number. And I was like, okay, perfect. So I started chopping it up with Mac. And at first I was scared. I felt like I wasn't even educated enough on IULs. So I didn't buy
Mm,
them at first. And I bought vets, the fresh vets for the first batch. And I bought 40
yeah.
of them. And I ended up writing 18,000 on just the fresh vets. And I was like, okay, well, they work.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
work. And you can ask Mac after this, but there were some texts that I sent Mac. I was like, "Hey brother, I don't know if this is for me. Like, they aren't hitting, And at first, because they weren't at first because no one was answering. And I was like, Tal, like take a step back, bro. Like, you got to call these people more than once for them to answer, right? And
Yeah.
so when I got that through my head, I was like, dude, just dial them like you do any other lead,
Yep, there it
and it's
is.
gonna work out, right? Because in my head, when people buy fresh, they're like, oh, they're gonna pick up right away, and they're all sales, right? They're all gonna buy right now because they just put it in, right? And it's like, I
Facts.
mean, that's for any good like anybody thinks that way, right?
Everybody does that when they first get on Fresh,
For
100%,
sure. And
bro.
so I got on it, and I was like, damn, bro, like maybe fresh leads aren't for me. And then 2 days later, literally in the same day, smacked 18K off those vets. Same day.
I didn't know
And I was
you wait, you smacked 18 in one day?
one day.
Damn.
And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. They do work. And so then I started chopping up with Mac and I was like, hey, bro, like, I think we should do IULs. And I was like, I think I'm ready. He's like, hey, bro, like, there's a lot of dudes that run them. They're really good. So I get my first batch, and this is like the week before we go to Ignite. So I tell Mac, I was like, hey, I'm gonna buy these, but I don't want to get them till after Ignite because I'm gonna be down in Arizona. I don't know the times, right? I don't know my time schedule. I don't want to ruin leads. He's like, cool. Then we get down there. Then I meet you guys, and that's when we chop it up. And then you guys call me when you're at dinner with Stan, and you try to get me to, buy whatever 40 more or whatever. I was like, damn, that's what's in my bank account, dude. I can't buy all those. And so that I get back to Missouri the next week, and I start ripping them. My first batch, I did 13K, and now, or no, sorry, take that back. Vets, I did 13K. My first batch of IULs, I did 18. And now this second one, this is only my third pack with y'all, but my second IUL pack, I did, I've already done on 7 leads. I've already done 12,000.
That's wicked, bro.
Yeah. It's
That's
crazy.
bro, I didn't even know, like I didn't know any of that story. All I knew was at dinner, when you filled the form out, we were just messing with Stan, like, bro, just call these leads. And then your name popped up. And
Yeah.
then that's when we called you. And then I didn't realize that you were on his team. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh. And then Mac was like, yeah, that's my boy. And I'm like, oh, I'd seen your name like pop up in the chat and stuff
for
like that,
sure.
but I had met you. And then I just saw you like writing these crazy deals. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I said, we gotta pull him up, bro, because I gotta hear
Yeah,
this.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
Dude, 100%, bro. So, how do you feel like for somebody that's watching that was you when you
Yeah,
first started? Walk them through like that shift in terms of working fresh leads. Because I know you mentioned it slightly, but like what changed? Did you just go from dialing them once
for
morning,
sure.
afternoon, evening to now just ripping? Like what was that shift that took you from like, dude, I don't think these are it to like, oh snap,
For
hold on, let
sure.
me change how I work them.
Honestly, the biggest thing that I think I change is it's great that they give you a preferred time to call them, but if the lead comes in right there, call them. Call them right then. It doesn't matter what they put in, bro. At the end of the day, yes. Is that their preferred time? Yeah. But that could be just any day, right?
Facts.
As soon as it comes in, call them. If they pick up and they're upset, or if they're like, hey, I'd rather talk then, set an appointment.
Yep.
Set an appointment. It is way better, especially when they first call in. What I do, and when I first get the lead, I call them once. If they don't answer, I don't double dial the first time it comes in. Okay. I send a text with my business card and I say, hey, this is Talbot. I saw here that you were looking to get some legacy protection for your family. I saw here that you put down 5 p.m. on Friday is the best time to call. Is that still a good time? Question mark. Send the text. If they don't answer, the next day, I call them twice in the morning. If they don't answer, then I'll send a text at noon and say, hey, did you get my text message last night? If they still don't respond, I call them twice again at night. And then from then on, the third day, I triple dial morning and night, morning and night, morning and night. I still dial my vets. I still do. My first pack I ever got a month and a half ago, I still dial.
Getting it in.
I mean, at the end of the day, bro, you're paying for these leads.
Yeah, facts,
Like
bro. I
if
mean,
they're,
that's
I
why I
would
tell
rather
people.
them pick up and cuss me out. Then they at least answer, and I know they're not interested. You
Facts.
know,
It's
like
still a game of numbers, bro. That's why I always try to
literally,
tell people like
like
that. That's all.
people need to understand. Like at the end of the day, you're never more than likely you're never gonna meet these people. So why do you care if they get mad? You bought the dang lead. Call them. They
Yeah,
put at one point that they needed help. Is that such a crime to try to help these people if they put in that they needed help? No,
yeah,
just call the damn lead.
yeah, dude. I try to explain that to people, bro. Yeah, man, 100%, bro. So let me just finish with this, man. I'm gonna give you the floor. Can you just anything you want to share with agents? It could be about lead lab. It could be about sales. It could be mindset, bro. Just you can kind of end us out, bro, with whatever you think is good to
Yeah,
people know.
to be completely honest, Lead Lab is one of the best leads that I have actually gotten, and I'm not being paid to say this from Trey, and I promise you that. Lead Labs have been, I wouldn't even say the best, they've been the most consistent, right? And if you guys think consistency is selling 10 to 15 leads out of your 35 leads, you're in the wrong industry. Consistency is selling 2 to 5 of them and understanding that you're going to make profit on them. Okay. In no way, shape, or form are you ever going to buy it. Maybe once in every blue moon, you're going to buy a 35 pack of leads or a 40 pack of leads and sell 10 of them. If you do sell that consistently, you need to come talk to me and tell me what you're saying, because half the time I think it's probably illegal because that's just not real. Right. And also, sales wise, your attitude and what you think up here is everything. You can be the best person on the floor, but if you have a shit attitude, you will never sell a day in your life. And if you get discouraged too much from someone cussing you out on the phone, you are never going to be successful in this business. Or if one person charges back and you're worried about how you're going to make that up, you guys should never be worried about chargebacks. You should be selling so much that it just happens. And at the end of the day, my persistency is at 82% right now. I've only been in the business for 4 months. I understand that. But at 82% of my leads that I've been buying, it's typically because I'm buying higher quality leads. If you guys are still running final expense, nothing's wrong with final expense. I'm not trying to say that, but a lot of chargebacks do come from final expense. It is very hard to talk to an aged IUL person who already has an IUL and flip them from someone who has a very good agent. If you write it the right way, they understand the longevity of that policy. They're not going to cancel. You're not going to get charged back because it doesn't benefit them.
Thanks.
So keep that mindset clear, keep your head on straight, and start ripping.
Dude, 100%, bro. Well, for everybody watching, I appreciate you all. If you have any direct questions, you can reach out to whoever sent you the video or wherever you got it from. I know Tal's always, he's in the chat trying to give
Of course.
game, help people out all
Yeah.
the time. So I'm sure if you guys have questions, you can go straight to the chat and ask. But
And
Tal, bro, thank you.
Sorry, real quick. Mac
Okay.
does have my IUL script that I created because a lot of people were asking for it. So if you do, just go in the chat and ask Mac. He has that script.
Bet.
So,
That's gang. That's gang. Appreciate you,
yeah.
brother. We'll see you next time.